Well, first of all, just to briefly set up the framework, the purpose of this seminar is to inform you about the updated regulatory framework and its application within the project approved under Call 2. At the Joint Secretariat, we are 2 persons in charge of stated more specifically, and this transcription up. Sorry, I'm just switching off the transcription. So this is Massimo Cavaltura from the Finance and Administration Unit. He will take the floor and present you more in depth this technical seminar, and myself, Isabelle Nobio, from the project unit. Given the very dense material, we actually do not foresee a question time during this seminar. We wanted to keep it short also, but your feedback and your specific question can be sent afterward in a document we will provide you with, and we will also exchange, or you will also exchange with your project officer during the meeting that will be organized within the forthcoming day in the framework of the pre-contracting phase. Your feedback, in any case, will also be taken into account to modify and update our program manual and any specific material related to stated that we may edit or that we are using, and you will see it during the presentation. Well, what are some housekeeping rules? As the seminar is recorded, please switch off your microphone to avoid Larsen. And of course, if you have technical problems, you can put your question in the chat. We will go briefly through the following agenda. So first of all, Massimo will update you on the main novelties on the legal framework related to state aid. We will then go through the compliance check, that is to say the assessment of the approved project that is done by the GS within this pre-contracting phase. And then we will try to illustrate with some example the issue or the case we may have within the context of a call for project. So many thanks in advance for your attention, and I give now the floor to Massimo.
Thank you, Isabelle. Good morning to everyone. As already said by my colleague, I am Massimo Caltavuturo. I am working in the financial office of the Interreg Euromed program. So, and specifically in charge of the state aid issue from the financial point of view. As already said by my colleague, the main purpose of this meeting is to give you more recent elements to manage the issues related to the state aid relevance during the ongoing pre-contracting phase. But we will see more in details during the presentation. In next slide, we will focus about the legal framework and the more recent updates of this framework in itself. So I want to stress here, because we want to apologize in advance for the technical dimension of this presentation, since many legal references are detailed in the slides, but we would like to build a comprehensive document which could be useful not only for these events but also for future applications. So as you can see here in the slides, the legal basis is the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, where the Article 107 defines the state aid definition. Then we have specific rules set in the 1060 regulation, specifically in Annex 17 concerning the information to be provided by the managing authorities. Of course, then we translated all the regulation in our program manual, specifically in the section 3, financial issues, part B, where there is a dedicated chapter about the state aid. And concerning the two approach, we have the general block of exemption regulation called the GBER in this presentation, and the minimis. Last but not least, there are the Commission notice on notion of state aid, which will be useful most of all concerning the example that we will provide at the end of this presentation, and the guidelines of state aid set concerning the protection and environmental protection and energy is always useful, especially taking into consideration the specific nature of the second call, and the DG competition. Last but not least, the DG competition has a very comprehensive website where there are many information about the state aid. So starting from the definition, let's say, as already said in the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union, the state aid is defined as any aid granted by a member state of whose state resources which distorts or threatens to distort competition by favoring certain undertaking or the production of certain good, which will be incompatible with the internal market, the European internal market. Why we decided to put this definition? Because from these three lines we can extrapolate a word, let's say, because the main keywords are shown in this definition. The main keywords are, of course, the economic activity and the concept of undertaking. The economic activity is defined as offering goods or service on a given market. What we want to point out here, without reading the slide, I think it's not necessary in this point, but we want to stress that if there are partners that normally do economic activity in their normal business, let's say, there is not this not means that they have to do economic activity in the project, and the contrary, if there are economic activities performed in the project, those activities could be implemented by organization that normally does not carry out economic activities. In both cases, the activities concerned, the concerned activities will be considered as state aid relevant. In this definition of economic activity brings us to the second keyword, which is undertaking, which is an entity engaged in an economic activity, regardless of its legal status. These keywords are useful to refresh, let's say, the general framework of the state aid. And of course, the main question is, is there a list of non-economic activities? So in this case, in this specific case, there is no list provided by the European Commission, but on the basis of the officially FAQ and notices provided by the European Commission and Interact, for example, there is a sort of living rights going, and we have the possibility to exclude some activity by nature. So, for example, in case of activities related to public safety. So let's say police, anti-pollution surveillance and education, those activities are considered as not state aid relevant. In case of general infrastructure, for example, like the construction of public roads, bridges, canals, etc., those activities will not be considered as state aid relevance. So the list is it continues, but I think that we think that the most important is the last one is the performance of public duty. So when an entity develop a strategy, a plan, a tool to help them in their normal task or raise the pool of knowledge. We want to say that in many cases we adopted this approach to, let's say, to not consider some activity as state aid relevant, especially in the first call for proposal of the ongoing period, 21-27, but due to the specific nature of this, the second call, we couldn't do this job automatically. So we will see in next slides, which is our approach on this issue. So, considering the Interreg Euromed approach, we want to introduce it, saying that this approach is shared with the European Commission and with the majority of the major, let's say, Interreg programs, such as Europe, Central Europe, Baltic, Northwest Europe, so on. The elements concerning the project activity as well as the beneficiary directly or indirectly involved are analyzed within the specific context of the project implementation. This is very important because, as we can see, as we will see in the compliance check, the compliance check part, the activity is analyzed within the framework of the project, but we will see more. Concerning the approach, we say that the state aid relevant activities can be co-financed as project activities only if they are in strict compliance with Article 20 and Article 20A of the General Block Exemption Regulation or in compliance with the Minimis Regulation. So this is the general framework. You have two cases and the related legal framework already mentioned a few slides ago. And in this case, in case of Article 20 and of de minimis, we talk about direct aid, and then we will see the case of indirect aid, which is called also indirect aid. So going through the state aid relevance, as already said, is when activities are considered state aid relevant. So when some economic activities are detected in the work plan of the project. So the main difference between direct and indirect state aid is concerns the subject involved, because as you can see here, we have partner, and in case of indirect aid are third parts acting as undertaking. So the direct state aid relevance is detected if the implementation of the activity in the framework of the project gives an economic advantage, a benefit, which a partner will not have obtained under normal market condition. Specific case is stated relevance is indirectly detected if the implementation of the activity in the framework of the project gives an economic advantage to third parties acting as undertaking. So this is the main, we will see in details in next slides, is only to give you the general framework of the GBR. In case of direct aid, we have two options. The first option is the general block of exemption regulation, and the second one is the de minimis. Going through the GBR, I would like to stress about the fact that this regulation has been created especially for Interreg programs. So it's something created for the European territorial cooperation policy. In this framework, the aid granted is the Interreg fund of the partners up to a ceiling of 2 millions and two of the public contribution per partner and per project. This is important because this ceiling has been updated recently. Partner receiving Interreg funds under the GBR scheme cannot receive any external public co-financing, and the partner participating under the GBR scheme cannot report VAT, if it is refundable under their national tax law. So those are the three main elements of the direct aid under the GBR, Article 20. Going through the second option is the de minimis, is another regulation that has been created when there are criteria deemed not to meet all the criteria set in Article 107 of the treaty, already mentioned before. In this case, the total amount of aid granted by Interreg programs with managing authority located in France to a single undertaking shall not exceed 300,000 euros over any period of 3 years. So those are the main differences, and they are schematically showed here. In the first row, you have the main characteristics of the GBR. As already said, the sailing per partner and per project is a simplification scheme for a European territorial cooperation, and it permits the participation or ensure the participation of a large audience to the Interreg programs. The weaknesses are that no external public co-financing are admitted, that the second is the refundable VAT cannot be reported, and this is relatively recent update too. And then last, but this is a point that concerns mainly the managing authorities, let's say, is the administrative burdens, since this aid has to be declared by program to the European Commission. Going through the minimis, this last point that does not apply, since there is no need of declaration to the European Commission by the managing authority. Say that one strength is also that this is a good scheme for small partners, not often in Interreg. The external public co-financing is admitted, and the refundable VAT could be reported. On the contrary, concerning the weaknesses of this approach, of course, there is a limit concerning the financial point of view, and even from the participation, since it will not ensure good participation of the partners to program with EMEI located in France. Of course, there are financial constraints for partners, and there are administrative burdens in this case for partners because last 3 years aids to be declared by partners, as you know, with the self-declaration or de minimis declaration that many of you already filled in. Of course, the main limit is the possibility of future collaboration, since 300,000 euro in 3 years is more or less one or two projects in generally speaking. Going through two slides before passing to the compliance. That introduce you the indirect aid granted under GBER. In this case, we remind you that the advantage is given to third parties outside the partnership. So project activities may result as an advantage granted to undertakings and users that will not have received under normal market conditions. For example, this might be the case of free of charge services, training, or consultancy to companies. In such case, the aid is granted to third parties who are the end users of project activities. Indirect state aid granted under GB Article 20A to an undertaking is the final beneficiary of project activities cannot exceed 22,000 euro per project. This is the main new, let's say, about this approach, and I would like to stress about the fact that associated partners are not part of this scheme because they are considered as part of the partnership, the approved application form. So if you foresee the participation of associated partner in two activities, so in this case, you don't have to think about this scheme. Last 2 points concerning the timing, let's say, which are, from my point of view, at least the most important. The amount of aid is granted to each end user is to be determined by the concerned partners prior to the implementation of the project activities that are affected by indirect aid, and it shall be approved by the managing authority prior to the subsidy contract signature. As you can imagine, this is the main constraint of this approach because we expect an action from your side before the subsidy contract signature, but we will see in the next slide this particular step. And last but not least, the application shall be monitored by the partner and verified by the national controller during the implementation. So those are the main elements. Going through the step expected. In this case, we would like to say, first of all, that we are preparing a fact sheet about this issue, but we want to do this seminar before and collect your feedback before doing that, the definitive document. In particular, regarding the estimation of the indirect state aid amounts to be declared, because we are aware that at this point of the project implementation, you probably don't know the exact amount of the indirect aid to be foreseen, but the joint secretariat, the project officers are in contact with concerned projects in order to organize ad hoc meeting concerning this issue. So, as you probably know, there is a specific Excel to be filled in case of indirect state aid. I hope you see it well. This Excel is composed by three worksheets. We don't go in details in this presentation, but because it is a large approach, so maybe it's good to do it case by case basis, but only to give you the general framework. What we have to do here is to anticipate those activities that are detected by the Joint Secretariat as indirect state aid relevant is say and specify here the number of days, number of people participating in the active concerning activities, the indicative date of the meeting, of the seminar, of the of the activity according to your schedule in a work plan. For example, this could be a tip, and specify here in this phase the indicative amounts for the whole activity concerning the two-day presential meeting for two people. And so in this case, in case you foresee fees for registration, those will have to be specified here too, and so on with all the activities that all the sub activities, let's say, that you foresee for this activity. It's important to say that this file should be filled by each partner. So in case you have your budget split before among several partners, you will have to fill it. Each partner has to fill it separately. So this is the file that you will have to fill in, let's say, being the first part only a demo. So here you have the name of the concerned first part that will take part of the activity. Here you have to specify if it is SME or not, and here the date and the estimated amount, as already said. So what the managing authority is asking is to receive this filled in file, and here you have a control check. So when you will put amount here, the sum will be showed here. And in case of the selling of 22,000 euro is placed, there will be a error message. So this is the functioning of this Excel, but of course we will foresee a specific meeting with the concerned partners or with project concerned by indirect aid relevance. So it will be more clearer in during the ad hoc meeting, of course. So coming back to the presentation, say let's close this first part and going to the second part, which is the compliance check. As you surely know, the state aid compliance check is part of the ongoing pre-contracting phase. In next slide, we will briefly show the main step of this, the whole pre-contracting phase, let's say, concerning the state aid compliance check. What we have done is to analyze the activities provided in the project work plan of the application form in GEMS. Then we evaluate the activities in itself using the scheme showed in the first part of this presentation. Then we have verified the coherence between the work plan and the state aid criteria self-check is the with a list of 5 questions or 4 questions to be answered by you during the application form phase. And we have finally we have verified the coherence of the 2 points above, the work plan and the state aid criteria self-check with the budget details. So this is the final step, let's say, and then we asked for integration during the pre-conductive phase, which is the phase that where we are now. So what happens if activities are considered state aid relevant in this phase? If there is no, I think many of you has not received points concerning the stated relevancy of activities. So in this case, there are no conditions and the project can go straight to the subsidy contract signature, at least from the point of view of the stated compliance check. If some activity is detected as economic activity, so there are possible conditions, we have to jump to the next step, asking ourselves as a partnership, let's say, what can we do? As we can will be remove this state aid relevancy within the activities, yes or not. In case we can remove this relevance, maybe we have to modify the work plan or providing elements that ensure a wide dissemination of outputs, participation of many entities to the activities. I think many of you are in this. Some of you are in this phase, but there are cases where the stated relevance cannot be removed. So in this case, the JS confirm the relevance of those activities. It's important to stress here that even if the assessment is done to the work plan of the partner, if a stated relevance is confirmed, this applies to the whole project. And probably this situation will bring to budget restrictions or modification. So let's see in details what happens when a stated relevance is confirmed. Once again, we propose the scheme already showed in the before about the strengths and the weaknesses of the two approach. So in this case, the partners, the project has to choose between two possibilities. So there is a general scheme which has a higher ceiling per partner and the project, which is the GBR, and this will ensure good participation of the partners to other Interreg projects. But in this case, the main points that we want to stress here is that no external co-financing will be, no external public co-financing will be admitted. This is a message mainly directed to those partners which foresee to apply for the automatic public contribution given by the national authorities, by the states, mainly Italy, Greece, and Bulgaria, if I remember well. And but of course there should be any other regional or specific scheme here, which foresee funding of the public co-financing for the participation in Interreg programs. So another point which is turned down is the refundable VAT is not eligible. And as already said, there are some administrative burdens that maybe does not concern directly the partner. And the other possibility is to go through the de minimis. In this case, is more say let's say it's not easy because there is no need to declaration to the European Commission. This is a scheme that should be followed if a partner does not foresee the participation to many projects in the future, let's say. But in this case, the external public co-financing is admitted as well as the refundable VAT will be eligible. So, as already said, the two main constraints are concerning the participation of the partners to programs with MA located in France. This is a specificity of the de minimis approach. Of course, there are some financial constraints for partners because of the low ceiling, let's say, of this specific approach. And the administrative burdens in charge of the partner because there is a de minimis declaration to be filled in. And uploaded on the system. So once done these steps, the JS is ready to close the state aid compliance check, and if all the criteria of the general, let's say, pre-contracting phase are met, the projects can go through the subsidy contract signature. So this is the main part, let's say, but we would like to close. We are going to close the presentation, but we would like to show you an example of what stayed. Because if you remember, we said that we applied the public scheme for the many entities, but in this specific call, we had little constraints concerning the energy infrastructure. Due to the nature of this call, we couldn't apply the general public interest, let's say, to the activities foreseen, to some activities foreseen in the working plan. But we would like to introduce to you the definition that is given by the GBER regulation of energy infrastructure. So I don't go through the main the old text, but basically infrastructure of transmission, distribution, and storage are considered as energy infrastructure. We want to join this definition with the legal framework introduced afterwards in 2016, 3 years after the GBER regulation, where there is a commission notice of the notion of state aid as referred to Article 107, which is the state aid definition, let's say. There are many points listed in these documents tries to better explain what should be considered as state aid relevance and what should be not to be considered. So in this case, there is a definition at the point 217. You have references in the first slide, where energy infrastructure includes transmission, distribution, and storage for electricity, gas, and oil. So as you can see, is the definition is very precise and very determined. So, which is the issue is that the public funding of energy infrastructures favors always an economic activity. So in this case, we have um, to go a little bit more in details with you. I mean, with the project concerned by this kind of activities, and try to to see in details your proposal about this kind of infrastructure foreseen in the project, because if those elements are met, most of all, the provision of energy services against payment, we will have to consider your activity as economic activity, and there are two elements too, which is the infrastructure is built by a market actors and is financed through user tariffs. So those are the two sub-elements, let's say, that go with the main elements here. So what to do in this case is evaluating the stated relevance of energy infrastructure activities. In this case, our colleagues are in contact with the project concerned, trying to see if we can bypass, let's say, this definition and remove the stated relevance of those activities. See more in details the working plan and the details of the activity foreseen. In case, for example, you don't foresee a payment for the service done, the activities connected to the energy infrastructure are not considered as economic activities. So in this case, there will be no stated relevance for the activities that you foresee. In case you foreseen, I'm always in the example framework, let's say, the activities connected to the energy infrastructure are considered as economic activities. In the case, for example, you foresee a payment for the service related to the energy infrastructure activities. So, in this case, I would like to close this presentation reproposing for the first time, sorry for this, but I think this is a good scheme that could help you to best choice the options. In case those activities are considered as economic activities, you have many two possibilities. The 2,200,000 euros scaling per partner and per project, knowing that this applies to indirect funds. In this case, in case you opt for this option, you know that no other public co-financing is allowed. So you will have to modify the budget in GEMS, because some of you have selected automatic in the right way, automatic public contribution. So in this case, in case of opting for GBR Article 20, you will have to modify this item in the budget. What is important to say here in this case, because I think it is already your question, in case of public entities, the own public co-financing is considered as private. So in this case, your own public co-financing will be admitted and not considered as external public co-financing. This is an important point from our point of view. Remembering that refundable VAT is not eligible, so in this case, the budget should be modified in GEMS. It means that if you are aware, if you already know now in this phase, which is the part of the VAT that will be will be refunded or asked for refund to the national authorities, this part of the refundable VAT should be extrapolated by the budget in order to have a clean, let's say, scheme to be followed. In any case, this particular point will be part of the controls done by the national controller. So, in case of detection of this kind of VAT, it will be deducted by the reported amount. The second option, as already said, is 300,000 euros ceiling in 3 years per partners and per partner and per project. This is the case of the de minimis scheme. Remember that the aid is from managing authority located in France. So there are main I think it's Europe and Epson and so on. Last 3 years aid to be declared by partners before the subsidy contract signature. In this case, you will have for whom who have not done, because I see that many partners already presented the ministry declaration. In this case, it should be updated if in case of de minimis opting. In this case, finally, the other public co-financing will be allowed and the refundable VAT will be eligible. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much, and sorry again for the technical presentation, but it is as it is. I don't know if my colleagues want to say something more, integrate.
Yes, Massimo. Just good morning to all of you. First of all, I'm Curcio Cervelli, the coordinator of the GS Secretariat. So, as you have understood, the today information was realized only with the purpose to offer you today some elements for your internal reflection. We are not specialists of state aid issue. We are not lawyers. So we need to share this information with you in order to know exactly what is your situation in a bilateral way, and to help each other to take the best decision for all of us. So as you have understood, the application form only is not sufficient in order to solve all those questions. So it's also up to you to decide on some specific points, for instance, VAT or de minimis or public co-financing contribution, especially in Italy, in Greece, and in Bulgaria. So this will be the object of different bilateral meetings you will have, which each project officer at the JS. This is why we don't open today a question answers session, because it will be completely useless, knowing that we will have many different cases. So this is why, for the moment, we stop here, unless some other colleagues at the JS want to take the floor. But otherwise, this will be the last word for today, waiting for next bilateral meetings for all of you. And we will, I guess that it will be done, or in any case, we will send you the PowerPoints with all those information, of course. This is not a problem. So I don't see anyone. Maybe Isabella, do you want to finish? Have you some final words? No?
No, not really. Thank you very much for your
Yeah.
attention. And you'll find indeed all the material. We'll send it to you, and the recording of the meeting, if you really want to hear us again on that, it will be available on the YouTube channel. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.